Okay guys, here's a guitar that I purchased recently, and it's in a Hamer case, and the thing is really dusty. Yeah, it's a Hamer XT series, which is their imported ones, and look at the amount of dust on here. Yeah, this guitar is just caked in dust, very dirty. It does have the Made in Canada case on there. It's got the Hamer P90s in it, but just super disgusting and dirty. So, you know, my job is to take something like this and clean it up and make it all nice and new looking, so that I have a chance to resell this thing. I can't resell it looking like this, so here we go. Let's get started. This video is brought to you by Swiss Picks. It's not just a pick, it's a science. Available at ZIMM'S Guitars or at www.swisspicks.com. Alright, so here it is. It's got the P90s in there, but again, the amount of dirt and dust on that, holy crap, look at that. So, yeah, I'm tempted to put gloves on for this one. Or I could take a vacuum to it. Get these strings off of here. I think under this dust, there lies a really nice guitar. If the electronics are okay, but I can spray out the electronics and I can clean those things. So, you know, in a way, because I have to clean all the guitars anyhow. And I don't know how much I paid for this right off the top of my head, but because of the amount of dust, I'm pretty sure I was able to talk this guy down on this one. I don't have that much into it because of that. And I have to clean all the guitars anyhow, so when they come in looking like this, I don't know, in a way it's kind of a good thing. Okay, got the stop bar off of there. So Hamer guitars, what's the guy from Cheap Trick? That dude played a lot of Hamer guitars. Rick, that's right, Rick Nielsen? Was that his name? Yeah, that guy played a lot of Hamer. Grab a couple of shop rags here. And, I could probably take my vacuum cleaner to this thing, but I think I'll just hit it with a couple of shop rags here, just to get that top layer off. Okay. And then I think I'll hit it with a whole bunch of this Dunlop. And on the bottle it says, do not spray this directly onto the guitar. Well, I apologize for that one, because it went straight on. It's got the big old Hamer version of the P90s in here. Yeah, so when a guitar comes in this condition, it gives it gives me the opportunity to buy the guitar cheap. Because of the dirt, you can really say, oh my God, dude, it's so dirty. You can talk the guy down. It's all about making a deal. Trying to get something that you can resell, make a few bucks. This is a made in China guitar. Don't know what year it is. Serial number starts with a 685. I've heard a lot about, there was a lot of guitar brands that made stuff, American-made brands like Hamer, and then they started importing guitars, and it kind of ruined the company. And I'm not going to say that's what happened to Hamer, but kind of happened to BC Rich. I don't think it happened to Squire, though. Squire started like Fender. Fender moved everything over to, in the mid-'80s or the early '80s, they moved everything to Japan and started the Squire series. And that was probably Fender's best move at the time. It probably seemed like it wasn't such a great move because a few years later, they brought a lot of it back to the American factories in Southern California. But for a long time there, and since, a lot of Squire guitars have sold. And I think that kept Fender alive and well. Alive and kicking because of the Squires. It's just like the best move Gibson ever made was buying out Epiphone so they could have an imported brand that they owned that sold millions and millions of guitars. Because Epiphones are everywhere, and Gibson owns that company. Hires a lot of employees and sells a lot of Epiphone stuff. But I don't think Hamer was a real huge brand to begin with. And it seemed like they were more popular back in the 80s and the 90s. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments, guys, thoughts on Hamer guitars. Some guys pronounce it hammer, but that would be wrong. But when Hamer started making the Hamer Slammer guitar by Hamer, those things were pretty bad. They were like very similar to a Squire, and you see them all over the place. So they sold a lot of them, but they kind of sucked, and you never seen anybody really like fall in love with one of those things. The Hamer Slammer. I do have a Hamer Scarab guitar that was super cool that Sammy Hagar used to play Scarab by Hamer Guitars. It's a cool model. Sammy had him on a couple of album covers and stuff like that where he'd play a Scarab. But this model on this guitar says it's a Sunburst AT P90. And the XT series is their imported series. If you see a Hamer and it says USA under there, instead of X series it says USA, you got yourself a really good one. Alright, so she's kind of cleaned up, and I mean, not so bad, right? There's no major dents. It cleaned up pretty quick. I'm going to go ahead and I'll do the same procedure that I always do. I'm going to take a little 1000 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to sort of polish these frets a little bit. Get the top layer of dirt off of here. This is quick and easy. Makes the frets nice and shiny. and doesn't cost any money to do it. Okay, let me move over to the thinner guard. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got our frets cleaned up a little bit. Doesn't look like there's any wear. Right here in the cowboy cord area is where you usually see the fret wear. And this guitar doesn't have, a little bit maybe right there on the second and third fret. But this thing doesn't look like it was played very much. Put some Music Nomad F1 oil on the fretboard just to hydrate the wood and just to kind of darken it up and to shine it up. And it cleans and protects and hydrates, and it is petroleum free, and it works really good. Although I might try something different after this bottle of F1 oil runs out. I like to experiment with different products. But sometimes I'll buy a used guitar and there'll be a whole bunch of stuff in the gig bag or in the case, the pouch of the case. And if I buy a guitar and I open up the case and there's a giant bottle of Music Nomad F1 oil, I'll just use that. So all these videos, you know, I'll be using the stuff that comes out of guitar cases that I buy. Okay, that's looking good. The fret ends on this guitar feel perfect. Don't need anything going on with those fret ends. Okay, so that got a lot of whatever off of there. Kind of gross. Kind of feel like I need to go wash my hands right now. So yeah, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so this little dusty thing. Let's check these electronics. Oh. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Surprise, surprise. They're in good shape. I guess this backplate on here is pretty airtight. None of that dust was able to get down in there. But I think what I'm going to do, just for good measure, let's pull the backplate off. And let's go ahead and spray them out real good. Because the worst thing that can happen is a customer takes a guitar off the wall, they plug it in, and the pots are all scratchy. Okay, spray a bunch of stuff in that, running back a few times. You can even, a lot of times, the selector switch, I go ahead and I spray into the top. Okay. And so, it's just to a little insurance that it's not going to mess up. Everything looks really good in there. We do have some sort of a capacitor here for the tone control. Is it a capacitor? A resistor? Big green thing in there. Everything looks original to me. I don't see anything that looks like it's ever been modified or anything, but that big green, that's kind of cool looking in there. don't exactly know what it is. Let's put some strings on it. Here we go. Thank you guys for being here. I mean, I'm working in a used guitar shop, and I love my store, but it's a Wednesday morning, and I've had 3 customers in so far today. I haven't sold anything yet. It gives me time to, I have to restring all these used guitars that I buy. And having you guys that I can talk to, right? Leave me some comments, okay? And feel free to hit that like and share and all that kind of stuff. My channel is growing. Thank you guys so much. Okay. Let's find some strings. Today's string choice. Okay, this is a little different than the norm. Fender strings. I am a Fender accessories dealer, so I don't buy the amps and the pedals and all that kind of stuff. Well, I can buy pedals, but I can't get the amps unless I become a second tier retailer. And being a used guitar shop, I don't really want to buy new Fender products other than strings and cables and straps and the guitar stands. But USA Fender, I think honestly, that the Dario strings, and keep this between us, but I think the Dario strings makes these Fender strings. So everything that you get from Fender nowadays is honestly, it's from Dario. And of course, Ernie Ball strings are their own company, and they manufacture their own strings. I could be wrong about some of this. Ernie Ball makes their own strings, manufactures their own strings. Dario makes Fender strings. DR strings, DR makes their own strings, and they are their own company and manufacturer. Dunlap, though, Dunlap is Dario. Dario makes all the strings for Dunlop, because basically Dunlop's a guitar pick company. I'm pretty sure that Elixir strings are made by Dario. So some of those big string companies, they're made by Dario. But like I said, Ernie Ball is the string that I sell the most of. And Ernie Ball manufactures their own string. It's all their own stuff. And Roto Sounds, I got some Roto Sound bass strings coming. And Roto Sounds is an English company, which I thought was super cool. And so I just remember that Michael Anthony used to only play Roto Sound bass strings. And they're an English company, which I thought was cool. Now Fender, they used to make their own strings, because way back in the day, Fender bought Squier, which was a string manufacturer. Fender bought Squier because Squier was a big string manufacturer. And then in the 80s, when Fender moved almost all of their production over to Japan, they used the Squier name as their intermediate guitar brand, or their beginning guitar brand, right? Squier stuff. And then they ended up outsourcing their string manufacturing. So pretty sure these strings that we're putting on right here, they're branded Fender strings. I think they're made by D'Addario, or D'Addario, however you pronounce it. But that's sort of, all that kind of stuff is all kind of kept secret. Fender doesn't want anybody to know that they outsource their strings. So don't tell anybody, okay, that I said that. Okay, here we go. This is our B string. I'm putting 10 gauge on here because this is 24 3/4 scale. And the way that the neck is on here and everything, the way the neck is set, to me it kind of looks like a PRS style of a guitar. And this model right here, I'm guessing off the top of my head, but I'm going to say this is probably early 2000s when this guitar was manufactured. That's my best guess. So 2001, 2003, somewhere in that neighborhood. Leave me some comments what you guys think. But I always do these videos. I always restring guitars and I do these videos. And then when the guitar is all done and all shined up and ready to price, I go sit behind my computer and I'm like, oh wow, I told people that I thought this guitar was 20 years old and it ends up it's only 8 years old. The other day I did a video on a Applause acoustic, so it had the crackle finish. It looked like it was a Ovation acoustic thin body one. Still had the round shell in the back, but the finish was a yellow crackle. And I told people I thought it was probably 20 years old, like early 2000s or maybe late 90s. That guitar was from 1981. So yeah, I make these videos. I talk off the top of my head thinking that maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And then I go and do the research after the guitar is all finished. When I'm trying to put a price tag on this thing, on all these guitars, you know. I do that part of the stuff at the end for some reason. I wait until the guitar's all strung up and ready to rock. And then that's when I look them up. And so half the stuff that I say when I'm guessing ends up being not accurate. Okay, let's take a look here now. Nice fat chunky neck on this thing. And again, the fret ends feel really nice. Got a nice gloss on the neck. The frets are in great condition. The 10 gauge strings on here, they feel nice. It's not like they're real heavy or anything. I love putting 9 gauge on everything. If it's a Strat, anything that is a Les Paul scale length or a Gibson scale length, I put 9s. I mean, I put 10s on there. But you know, when you buy a guitar, you can put whatever gauge strings you want. Once in a while, I'll get the heavy metal kids will come in and they want to put, you know, 12 through 56s. But then you're going to need to file the nut right here to make the nut wider so the string sets down in there. So I try to talk the kids out of doing that. But this guitar feels good right out of the gate. So if you're out getting your guitar restrung and the guy that just put new strings on it, if he doesn't sit and play it for a second, then you're not getting a thorough restring. You know what I'm saying? The only way to really make sure that the guitar plays well is to actually play it. But this one's nice. Hamer imported the XT series. I do have a USA Hamer that I purchased recently, and I'm going to do a video on that one real soon. But this thing cleaned up really nicely. My customers will probably be like, wow, what's that thing? So it's a cool guitar. It was in rough shape, but somehow the electronics survived all the dust. Now I'm going to clean that case, and I'm going to vacuum the case out, put this thing back together. But there it is, an old Hamer. Well, not that old. But got a little bit of dirt down in there still on that pickup. P90 Hamer, made in China. Fun guitar. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Okay. Now that looks better.